What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Corvette Weekly. We are here for the second week of December. As you guys know, the December live videos are sponsored by Solar Performance. We're giving away something from Solar Performance every week in December. This week, it's going to be a throttle controller for whatever car you have. So that's what we're going to be giving away today. But we're going to talk a lot about my experience with the 91mm ported throttle bodies, which you guys probably saw that video earlier I put out. This week, I'm going to be installing the throttle controller and giving my opinion and my review, we'll say, on that as well. But I'm going to take a little bit of more of an interesting approach to it because my approach is mostly going to be the hiding of the wires and how I'm going to personally use it. Whereas I know some other people have, mounted the little display in different places and stuff like that. I'm going to take a little bit of a different approach to it. So my video will be a little bit different than what you've seen elsewhere. With that said, that will be coming later this week. But we are going to be giving away a throttle controller today. And luckily, since I don't have one installed, luckily we're here with someone who does have one installed. So we're going to get his opinion on it here in a minute. But for the time being, welcome back to Corvette Weekly. This is Brandon with me here from Brandon's Garage. 10-second Eclipse says, where's 10-second Eclipse? Man, I'm still doing it. It's been so long. 10-second Z06. Says, where's David? We don't know. He's probably at home sleeping most likely because he works some crazy hours. So hopefully he tunes in here in a little bit. And if he does, we'll get him on here as soon as he pops in. But for the time being, guys, I'm going to do something very similar we did last week with the giveaway. If you are a member on the channel, you are automatically going to get one free entry. If you are not a member, and you would like to become a member to get a cheaper entry into this giveaway, I'm going to paste a link into the chat here. Click on that link and you can join for $4.99, and that will give you an entry versus the normal entry is $10. Now, as usual, $10 will get you an entry, but since this is an item that's a little less money than the Throttle Boys, I believe it was a little over $200, we're still going to stick with the $50 or more is double entries. So if you want to win the throttle controller, $50 or more, you'll get double entries. $10 all the way up to $40 will get you just a single or up to 4 entries. So if you guys want to do the membership thing, let me know in the chat. Just type the number 1. If you are a member of this channel, you've already purchased the membership, type 1 so I know you're here, and I'll get you on the spinny wheel of fortune as with 1 entry. So Jason says he saw the ZR1 at the LA Auto Show and it was a beast. The wing is massive. We're going to be talking about that tonight as well, guys. Paul Yunker says he has the Solar throttle controller, best and easiest install for the buck. He also has the 91mm throttle body set to install. Absolutely, guys. If you haven't seen my video yet, guys, the 91mm throttle bodies are now available for the C8 Corvette Z06. Use the code HPO5 to save 5% on anything on their website. It's right underneath Brandon's name there on the screen. You can see HPO5. That will save you 5% on anything, regardless of what you want to buy. Throttle controllers, throttle bodies, doesn't matter. 5%. Plus, it will save you the 5% on the new 91mm from the for the C8 Z06. All right, so we got Steve Robertson.
Justin,
go ahead, Brennan.
A quick question back to what you were saying about the availability. I looked at like a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, and it was still the pre-order on the 91s. Is it to where for sure you can you can click it and buy it right now? Okay,
we basically worked together on that. So the launch of my video is when they went live with the sales. So
okay, cool. Okay.
They're not pre-order anymore. That's a great point, Brandon. Thanks for bringing that up. I totally forgot to mention that. It's not a pre-order anymore. They are available for purchase right now. So if you buy it using the code HPO5, you'll save 5% and they will ship tomorrow at this point.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you. Sorry.
All right, so we got Steve Robertson. I'm going to try to get these free entries nailed down here for you guys. Steve Robertson, Professor Corvette, C8 Nate.
And C8 Nate, he actually installed his 2 weeks ago at the car show we were at. He did in the parking
lot. Oh, really?
Actually,
nice.
Yeah, he borrowed a 10mm wrench from somebody that was there, and then he just hopped underneath and did it himself. And I don't know, it was like 10 minutes or something.
Professor Corvette, I love the thought here. He types 2 ? I love it. You gotta love whenever people get creative with this stuff. So let's see. I'm just getting all the free entries in here. Guys, while I'm putting in the free entries, why not let's have Brandon talk a little bit about his experience with the throttle controller. So like I said, I'll be doing mine next week, but before I do mine, let's hear what Brandon has to say about it. I know he liked the device as well. So go ahead, tell us what your thoughts are.
So basically, I had mine. I think I want to say I ordered it. It was either November or December of last year. So around this time last year, I got the car in October, and that was one of the first mods that I did. I can't remember what got me to do it. I don't know if I think. Oh, I remember what it was. So my C7 Callaway, I had the. I don't remember if it was solar, but I did have a throttle controller on it. I think it was solar as well. And I remember that kind of woke the car because it was a supercharged, basically LT2 or LT1, sorry. And so that engine was pretty responsive. I felt like there was a big difference. I was like, I'm gonna see what it's gonna do on the Z06, because my biggest complaint going from a supercharged engine to a traditional 6.2 to the new 5.5 was I felt like it lacked torque, and it just wasn't as responsive going out. So I felt like the car was a little slow. That was just my impression when I first got it. I didn't like it, honestly, and it concerned me because I was so used to like LS7, like supercharged engines with like lots of gobs and gobs of torque, lots of responsiveness. And so I was like, I'm going to try to fix that, see if this does it. And it was like it was like $200 at the time. Bought it, put it on, took 10 minutes or so. And I'm not even joking. I put pretty much every mod that you can put on a Z06. And I'm not just saying this, I was not sponsored or anything. So like I bought it back then. And I had one prior to that. And it has been the best mod that I've done, bar none, for the money. There's not a single, for spending $200, there's not been a single mod that I've done that has given me that much of a difference in the car. Now, it's obvious, it doesn't give you power, but as far as it feels like it gives you power. Like as far as a mod that changes the way the car drives, that's been the best mod that I've done so far. It's been, I keep it on the same setting. I don't change anything on it. There's a lot of things you can do with it, but I pretty much just keep it. I think it's Sport 8, Sport 8 and Sport 9. I can't remember which one I've got it on right now, but I leave it. I set it there. I don't even touch the thing. It's perfect the way it is. The car jumps. It leaps like it's supposed to. It feels to me, after having ported throttle bodies, it feels like that, but squared. So ported throttle bodies to me felt like it added a lot of what I wanted with the car, as far as making it more responsive, more reactive to the throttle input. But this kind of does it exponentially more so than even the throttle bodies. And for $200, it was like a no-brainer. I don't know of any negative to doing it, because what other mod are you going to do for $200 on your car? You can't even buy carbon fiber interior pieces from China for $200. And so for me, it was just like a no-brainer. And I'm not just, it literally has been the best mod that I've done, bar none, of everything that I've done to the car, as far as money per what you get out of the product. So
awesome. Well, guys, like I said, I'm going to have a video coming out here shortly, but in the meantime, if you kind of want to ride on what Brandon's saying there, use the HPO5 code to get your own throttle controller, or take your shot at winning one today. Every $10 sent is an entry. So if you look at the top of the chat, the Venmo link is pasted up there, but you can also just send it via super chat right here on the chat. If you do it that way, either way, $10 or more is an entry. $50 or more is double entries. And Mark Cutsey just donated the first $10, so we'll get him in for an entry. But he says, happy belated birthday, Justin. Once the show kicked off, I just remembered that we had the same birthdays, Sagittarius in the house. Yeah, thanks for remembering, Mark. Interesting, I did not know we had the same birthday, and I saw that pop up on Facebook, and I was like, how about that? So, pretty cool stuff there. But, yeah, guys, get in on the giveaway here, because the throttle controllers are $229 plus tax plus shipping. So we'll call it an even $250. You could possibly win for $50 or less, depending on what you donate. So I got everybody here that has a membership to the channel, and guys, welcome to 11-second or 10-second Z06. I keep forgetting that it's not an Eclipse anymore. He just joined the channel as well. Thank you, guys. Seawolf, thank you. Happy birthday. I do have my birthday Mountain Dew here, so thanks, guys. But yeah, Bill Miller, the 91 millimeter throttle bodies did go live today. Like Brandon was saying, they were actually pre-order until today at the same time when I launched my video. They made the 91 millimeter throttle bodies pop up for being able to be shipped. So they are ready to go. If you want to grab them, HPO5 will save you 5%. Have at it. Go get those things because they are really, really interesting. What they do with the car is very interesting. And I tried to capture it as accurately as I could in my video, but the word that kept coming into my head was that it smooths everything out. Everything felt like, number one, the torque comes on a little bit earlier. It feels like it comes on earlier especially in third gear than it used to. So I feel like there's a little bit more torque down low, and that's really great by itself. But it gets rid of that initial, you're sitting there, you just put the car in park or in drive, and you start to move. It gets rid of that weird dead spot that every Z06 that I've driven has, this weird dead spot where it's like you're pushing the gas in like maybe 10, 15%, and then the car's like, oh, okay, he's pushing the gas. And then all of a sudden it like slams and you're starting to go. And it's really odd. I never understood why it's the Z06 that does that. But this throttle body ramps it up so smoothly now you don't feel that anymore. It just feels like it's going with the smoothness of the gas pedal itself. Now, supposedly, the throttle controller should kind of amplify this, should make everything even more sensitive while maintaining that smoothness of the new throttle body. So I'm pretty excited to see what's going on there. But let's see what we got here. Texas Clay says, Justin, how old are you? I just turned 40.
I was going to ask that. I was wondering if you hit the big 4-0. You feel any different?
No.
No. Yeah, same. Yeah, same. Yeah, 43. So I feel like it's all downhill from here.
Yeah, right? That's what I said.
Yeah.
Professor
The good years are behind us.
Professor Corvette says, you're not supposed to ask a YouTuber their age. I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Let's see. Wheeler O'Hara says, I can tell I'm older, so the real answer will just depress me. That is the real answer. I'm not BSing anybody. I just turned 40, so it is what it is, I guess. But yeah, the video I did drop a little bit on the internet connection speed, but it's back up now. It should be good. Luke Wash says, Saturday was my birthday, so 2 days ago.
Hey, I got to give you credit for driving your car in a Pennsylvania, quote unquote. I mean, it's officially winter.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania winter, driving your Z06, and you've got the 4S's, right? Like those cars, you don't have the Cup 2s. Yeah. So
if I had the Cup 2s, it would have been no bueno. It was,
oh God, yeah.
It was like, I think it hit a high that day of 30 degrees, and really I shouldn't even have been driving on the Sport 4s, but I had to take the car out. I was so excited for those throttle bodies. I literally couldn't stand it. I finished the install at like 12 or 1 in the morning, and I heavily contemplated taking it out that night because I literally couldn't stand it. But thankfully I waited because it was definitely really cold that night, and it would not have worked very well.
What's interesting, it looked like you laid into the throttle pretty decent, at least from the acceleration. I'm surprised even at like 70, 80 miles an hour, your car wasn't like going crazy on you, because I mean, it looked like you had pretty good acceleration, at least from the video. Like it looked like it was moving out pretty good. Like you were at least 3/4 throttle.
I really like the Sport 4S tires. I every time somebody asks me about them, I tell them I think they are one of the best overall tires you can get. They'll do track days, they'll do semi-cold weather days. They get good grip. They don't get so good grip that they're slinging rocks at the rear really heavily like the Sport Cup 2s do. I feel like it's one of the best tires you can put on a car. But with that said, if I did have the Sport Cup 2s, they'd be better during hot weather, whereas during the winter here, it's literally like driving around on a steel tire. You're not going to get any traction at all with those. So, Jay,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Jay says, so how many out there that have a Z06 are really going to try and get a new ZR1? What do you expect to do with the ZR1 you can't do with a Z06? It's a great question. I've been kind of wondering some of that stuff myself, because at some point there is a limit on your returns with horsepower without changing anything else. So
I have an answer to it. I have an answer. All right. Here's my personal answer. Here's what you can do with it. So 5th gear, you can actually like smoke stuff in 5th gear. As far as other cars, you can beat all the exotics in 5th gear, whereas we can beat some of them, but not all of them. And like, that's kind of the limiting thing. So The
So
ZR1 kind of handles the fifth gear problem.
let me ask you though, Brandon, how do you know that for sure? Because
I don't.
I was going to say the gearing, from what I heard in the Savage Geese video, the gearing is not going to change. The gearing is going to stay the same. So the power obviously changes, but do we know for sure that fifth gear is going to actually have any more power, or is it just going to be more power first through fourth? You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I would expect, I don't think have they released any 6130 times. I haven't seen anything. I suspect, my guess is it's going to be like low fives. That's what I would, depending on the aero package that you pick on the car. If you pick like the less aero one, I would think you're going to be in like the low fives like that. That's kind of where the plaids and stuff are. They're sitting in the between 4.8 and the 5.5 range, depending on the mileage and what year it is. So I think that's what you're going to see versus like our cars are sitting, stock at like 8 seconds. They're going to do it like 3 seconds faster, 60 to 130. That's my guess, based on the power and equivalent Z06 ZR1.
My problem with that is I would love to say absolutely, but the biggest thing that's going to factor in here is traction. Like even at 60 to 130, you're already moving, but when you just slam 1,000 horsepower down on the table, it's going to have traction issues even at 60 miles an hour. So they're going to have to either limit the torque, limit the horsepower, or they're going to let it fly, and then you're just going to lose the rear end. So how do we put, I mean, of course, I'm hoping GM has the answer to this, but how do you put 1,000 horsepower down to make that 60 to 130 quicker without losing the back end?
I just got to ramp in the boost. That's really the only way to do it. At least on my car, with the drag rails and stuff like that, 60 to whatever doesn't really, like, I'm not going to spin no matter what I do. I'm not going to spin it at 60. But like, yeah, stock tires. But the Cup 2s, it'll be interesting to see how those cars do on the Cup 2s and that 60 to 130. I still think it's possible to be in the 5s, even on the Cup 2s. But it's going to take really making it up 100 plus when you really do hook up. But yeah, you're going to spin, obviously. But it'll be interesting to see how people do with that. Hopefully it's not going to turn into one of those things where, like the Vipers, where they're all going to end up in the trees on the side of the interstate.
Well,
from 40-degree weather and ramping into it,
Dodge always had such an issue with their traction control, traction management, and the Vipers basically didn't have traction management. Like, for the most part, it was an option, or so they said it was, but the car just did not. If you smash the gas in any Viper, even the newer ones, those cars are scary, because if you don't know exactly what you're doing, you are likely going to end up in a ditch.
Yep. And that's funny. And I've told the story before, my buddy wrecked mine racing my C5. So he wasn't experienced with the car, and we did a 30 hit, and then he went off the side of the interstate and into the trees. So, and it was a Gen 4. So it wasn't even
that
like
was
a
your
Gen
Viper.
5.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it was 08. Yeah. I actually let him drive it to race my other, to see which one was faster, LS7 versus Gen 4 Viper. And I thought the LS7 was going to be quicker, which it was, but because it hooked. But anyways, yeah, ended up in the trees, and that was into that. So
that sucks. All right, so where I saw a question I wanted to try to address here. So guys, yeah, Quagmire says LT2 and LT6, we're stuck with that. I'm not sure what he's referring to exactly there, but I'll tell you this: my 2020 Stingray that I had did not have the same weird dead spot that the Z06 does, and neither does the E-Ray. The Z06, it has to be something that GM is programming into this car on purpose, because every one of them that I've driven, whether it's Z06, Z07, doesn't matter what kind of car it is, if it's a Z06 C8, it has like this odd 10 to 20% throttle before, like almost like the transmission then catches and starts going. But it can't be that, because the throttle bodies, the ported throttle body, the 91 millimeters at least, solved that issue for me. So it's odd. It's something with the stock throttle bodies, the tip in. I know, Brandon, you've done a lot of research with the tip ins on these things. Does that sound like something that the tip in would affect?
Yeah, I think it actually may have to do with when the clutches engage. Honestly, I think maybe there's a threshold of power where they engage, or throttle input, or maybe a combination of the two. I don't know.
Okay.
But that's probably the only thing that makes sense as to why you feel it more with throttle bodies as far as actual engagement. Is one, it's throwing more air, which is going to throw more power, torque, and it may engage those clutches, or it feels that way because more torque's hitting the clutches at the time of engagement. And
well,
so
see,
that
no,
would make
I'm
it feel
saying
like it launches harder.
I'm saying I feel it less with.
You feel it less
with the ported throttle bodies whenever I'm initially starting to move. The car, we'll say the car's sitting still, I put it in drive, and then I'm initially starting to move. I just put my foot on the gas to start moving in first gear. That is so much smoother with the ported throttle bodies than it was with the stock ones. It was almost like the stock ones weren't allowing enough air to pass through when they were in their fully closed state. Because
Right.
we know that the solars are ported at the top. Yeah, E. Herbert says it almost feels like clutch slip, and it does. And I thought that that's what it was. I really did. Until when I put those throttle bodies in, the second I turned my camera on, you can hear me go, oh, well, that was interesting. I didn't expect that to be fixed by this because I thought it was the actual transmission clutches. But apparently it has something to do with almost like the engine wasn't getting enough air from the regular throttle bodies to allow it to start moving smoothly.
That's interesting. That's a good thought. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I feel like it's more responsive, but I'm thinking of it from like a responsive aspect, not from like just the engagement off idle kind of deal. So that would make sense.
Okay. So other than that, other than the smoother, initial reaction, I noticed smoother shiftings too. So not the shift itself, but right after the shift, again, the response to the throttle was smoother and more sensitive. So after each shift, it just felt like I didn't have to jam the gas as hard to get it to keep into that power range or power band, basically. And then also a kind of a side effect that kind of made me happy was I noticed that if I'm coming to a stop and I downshift, that the exhaust literally will keep burbling. If I let the RPM naturally come down, it will just keep burbling until I'm at a stop, which was really cool. I'm absolutely fine with that. And it didn't do that before. It would burble for like 1,000 RPM, and then afterwards it would just go silent. But now it just keeps burbling the whole way down. That's a great question. E. Herbert says 87 millimeter or 91 millimeter is the question. And in my opinion, the biggest reason I didn't do this mod until now, I wanted the 91s. And I can't tell you specifically why outside of the fact that 91 is a bigger number than 87. That's the only reason. So with that said, I can tell you that the 91s are absolutely 100% worth it. Brandon did do some testing with the 87s. And whenever Brandon and David tested the 87s on a dyno, they noted a 15 horsepower increase on the dyno. Yep. So
that was same day swapping the throttle bodies. Don't quote me. I think I had the JLT intake, but I didn't swap it at that time. It was already on. So baseline was done. The only change was the throttle bodies. I just can't remember for a fact. I think I had the JLT when we did that download. I have to look back. But all we did was same day, same conditions. There might have been like a 5-degree difference or something in temperature, and swapped them on the dyno. Didn't even take it off. And then did another, and I think we did 2 or 3 baseline passes. So it wasn't like just did one. It was like a random like low pull. It was like there were 2 or 3 baselines to get a good baseline. And all 3 baselines, if I remember right, were within a couple horsepower of each other. And then the ones after the throttle body swap, because I was like low 600s, and this was in like 70-degree temperature. It was like I was like 603, 604. I think each pass was between 603 and 605 on the baseline passes. Then after we swapped throttle bodies, I went up to 618. And I can't remember what the torque was. I think there was a torque gain. I just don't quote me. I'll have to look back at the graphs. I want to say it was 10 torque, something like that. So it was like 15 and 10.
I just searched it real quick. David did have an e-Venturi intake on his car with the Solar Performance throttle bodies. Picked up 15 and 15. 15 horsepower, 15 torque.
Okay, that sounds right.
That's with the e-Venturi. So he dynoed the e-Venturi, then dynoed it again after he swapped in the throttle bodies and noted 15 additional horsepower. So that is ridiculously impressive from a throttle body standpoint, because typically a ported throttle body is not going to offer a whole lot more horsepower. It's mostly there for drivability. But in this case, David noted 15 horsepower. So if that's to be, if that's the case, I mean, I know obviously David, you guys know David and Brandon, they're not dyno operators, so there's no way for them to manipulate these numbers. If they're getting 15 horsepower, then these throttle bodies are gaining something. And that's with the 87s. So my opinion is the 91s would only gain more, if anything. They're definitely not going to gain less. So Texas,
just eyeballing the two, like when you sent the 91s to have them painted.
Yep.
Just eyeballing them from the 87s, just looking at them. I don't think there's any doubt they flow more air like they have to. The throttle shafts being machined.
Yep.
All those things, they have to flow more air. So it's going to be, and you're multiplying that times 2. So you think about in traditional cars, you swap throttle body. I can't think of a previous platform to where you put ported throttle bodies on it and you didn't make power. Every platform that I know of, that I'm aware of, that you put ported throttle bodies on, whether it doesn't matter your manufacturer, as long as they were done right, you gain power. And so multiply that times 2. So it makes sense. 15 is definitely not outside the realm of possibility on an engine that's like revs to 8,600 RPMs. It really focuses on every little CFM. So it makes complete sense. I suspect the 91s are going to make more power. The question will be, what will happen with the torque? Is that going to be more? Is it going to be same? Like, but I don't have any doubt that it's going to make more power than what it's making now. It's just a question of what's the torque curve and the power under the curve. What's that going to look like? I don't know if we know the answer to that yet, but it'd be interesting to see.
Yeah. So Seawolf Z06 says, let's get the thumbs ups, guys. We got actually 160 watching now and only 68 thumbs ups. Let's smash the thumbs up if we can. We usually like to get to 100 by 8 o'clock, but that's my fault. I totally forgot about it. So we're at 8 now. Let's try to get to 100 as soon as possible so we can try to get to 200 by 8:30. My big thing is kind of what Hot Rod Todd says here is better gains in the middle of the range than on top too. This is actually where you want the gains. Everybody's always looking for peak horsepower. It's not actually peak horsepower you really want. What you want is the horsepower and torque throughout the power band, because that's where you're going to experience it the most. You're not going to live most of your life at 8,600 RPM. So getting to that point is where you want the additional power. And the Eventuri intake, the Soul Cats, and the now the ported throttle bodies, that seems to be what they're focused on too, is drivability and that power addition throughout the power band instead of just at the very end, which is definitely a good thing.
And
so
to piggyback off of that, Justin, so when David did his JLT and the Eventuri test, so the JLT only made 10 wheel horsepower more at top, right? But it lost 10 torque in the mid range. I put that same intake on my car, did 60 to 130 testing, same day. The conditions were within a couple hours of each other, so within a couple degrees. Tested it that same day. I gained a net 0 on 60 to 130 because my theory is because that torque loss offset anything I got at the top end. Because like you said, you're spending more time in your torque band than you are at your peak. And so you can gain a little bit on the peak, but actually lose power. And so I think with the JLT, that was a problem that I was having. I wasn't like the Eventuri where you gained all that torque in the mid range. You weren't getting that. You were losing torque. So it was a net even, the JLT. So I made no difference in performance from that I saw with the JLT swap. And I think that goes to what you said.
And with the way you drive, would you prefer to have that 10 horsepower up top or that 10 horsepower throughout the band?
Oh, no question. I'm going to take the torque, but I like I said, I'm used to the big ends. I love torque. Torque's my thing. I used L98s and tune ports. I love those engines, and those were like all they had were torque. You didn't even rev them past like 5,300 RPMs or something. And all their torque was down between 2,000 and 4,000. I think they ran out of air like 4,300 RPM. So that's what I grew up being used to. So that's what I like. I like the torque. That's me personally. But
gotcha. All right, so yeah, guys, the ported throttle bodies here on their website, the 91 millimeters are $800, but you do get a core charge back with that. Plus, you can save 5% by using the HPO5 code. So regardless if you go with the 87s or the 91s, either way, use the HPO5 and send back your old throttle bodies to get a core charge back. It knocks down the price quite a bit. So, for example, if we go to their website here, let me show you their website. This is the Solar Performance website. Obviously, these are the 91 millimeter throttle bodies. If we decide that we wanted to add these to the cart, let's see what they tell us the cost of. I was hoping they were going to show us a core charge quicker than that. I think it's $200 or $300 if I remember right. So they will give you back $200 or $300. Do you happen to know the answer to that, Brandon?
I don't know the answer to that. I do know what it costs to buy a new throttle body from GM, and it's around between 80 and $100. So if they're giving you $200 for your core charge, that's a good price that they're giving you for that.
I know
I can buy a throttle body for about $100.
I know it's at least $200. Let me see if I can find.
So that's a good deal. That's what you're getting, full price of what you would pay for new throttle body. So if they're giving you that, that is a deal. But just because I bought them, so.
Yeah, I mean, another thing to keep in mind here, guys, because I saw someone posted that it was 120. With the Z06, you're sending in 2 throttle bodies, so they're giving you a total of $200 or $300 back. I can't remember which number it is yet. So with the Z06, you have 2 throttle bodies. Obviously, with the C8 Stingray, you only have 1, so that is obviously going to factor into how much you get back. Yeah, Stingray is 120. That would mean the Z06 is probably 240. So either way, it's going to give you a little bit of money back plus the 5% off. So you guys have options. Now you can choose to keep your throttle bodies, your stock ones if you want. That's totally up to you, but it is what it is. And you guys can obviously figure that out if you choose to go that route.
And when you think about it, just from the dollar perspective, like just take, for example, the Eventuri, right? So it's so far to date, I don't know of any mod that really gives you more gains on the LT6 right now than the Eventuri just by itself, one mod. That's the only thing you change. And so if you look at that, what they're running between $2,600 and $3,000, right? So to get those gains, the next closest mod to power wise, when you think about it, is the throttle bodies, and you're getting that at a third of the price or a fourth of the price of what the Eventuri is. So it goes back to like value per dollar. To me, it's like throttle controller, then throttle bodies, then intake, and then you start going into exhaust. You get,
Yep.
Exhaust is it's it's that debate is out still on really what your gains are as far as on exhaust. Like obviously cats, you're gonna pick up some, but you're
Right.
spending a lot more money.
Yep.
So
Yeah, and my big thing is with exhaust in general, you're usually at like 10 or 15 horsepower max for an exhaust, but the cost for the exhaust is far greater than it is for a throttle body. So you're mostly getting an exhaust for the sound, not really for the power addition, the sound, and maybe dropping some weight. But for the most part, the throttle bodies are, from what I can tell here, are going to gain you about the same amount of horsepower, plus drivability, plus they're a lot cheaper. One question I did know was going to come up tonight. Jeremy, 2020 Matrix 8, said that he's had his 91 throttle bodies for over a year now. Is there something I'm missing here? Why are the new ones, basically, why did they come out with new ones? I talked to Joe about this the other day on the phone, and the answer was that some of them initially, the 91 throttle bodies, some of them were throwing check engine lights. And he told me the percentage of them that were bought was less than 5% that were throwing issues, but that's still on their end, that's too high. So they wanted to bring them back in, do a little bit more testing, and make sure that there wasn't any issues with them. I know with you, Jeremy, you haven't gotten the check engine lights specifically because of the throttle body, so I would say don't worry about it. Basically, you have a very similar, if not identical, throttle body, but that's where we're at with it now.
and the reason they were throwing codes, most likely, at least from my knowledge of throttle bodies at that time, um, at the throttle position, whenever you demand say 10 to 40%, the computer only allows for so much air to come through that has a parameter that it expects, and if it sees a number higher than what it's expecting to see outside of that range, then it'll trigger a code. And so most likely, this is just my guess, most likely what was happening, it was getting a little more air than what the stock parameters were showing, and it was tripping a code. I would bet, and I'm just this is pure speculation. I bet they changed the CNC a little bit to change that number, the flow a little bit to where it meets that criteria to where it doesn't throw codes anymore. I don't know if they did that with like usually the throttle shaft doesn't come into play till you're wide open throttle, so I
Right.
doubt it's the throttle shaft. And also, I do have a question for Jeremy. On your original 91s, did you have the shade throttle shaft on those, or did it have the regular throttle shaft on the originals? I'm curious if the originals had that throttle shaft shaved or not. I know some of the other platforms
Too.
it does.
Yeah. Speed Stuff LLC says, "Are you tossing your warranty out the window, putting on the throttle bodies?" No. So, one thing I feel like I shouldn't even have to say. Number one, these are basically stock throttle bodies that have been modified. So, if anything, you're adding a little bit more air. You're not radically changing electrical wiring or anything. So, you're not really putting anything on this car that's going to cause a problem. But let's say that it did. Put your stock throttle bodies back on. I don't love the idea of even saying that, because it's redundant. Like, it seems like if you're going to have an issue and it's going to be directly related to those throttle bodies, which it would have to be for your warranty to be affected. Like, if you're just like Joe said, if you're driving around with new ported throttle bodies and your air conditioning unit goes out, it doesn't matter if GM knows you have those throttle bodies or not. It's totally unrelated. So your air conditioning is still going to be covered under warranty. The only way your throttle bodies would ever potentially affect your warranty is if something is directly affected from those throttle bodies. So let's say your car runs lean and you blow it up. They can tie that to the throttle bodies. At that point, I wouldn't mess with it. Let's not even mess with it. Let's just put the stock throttle bodies back on. So, yeah. Anyway.
And I've tested multiple different throttle body configurations as far as porting goes. I've yet to have a code pop up related to throttle bodies. That has not happened to me personally.
Yep.
So I haven't seen that. Not to say that it doesn't happen. I know it does. But personally, I've seen a lot of different combos on this car, and it has not tripped a code. The only thing for me that tripped codes has been the daggum cat deletes, and that trips codes. But other than that, I haven't had anything pop up.
Okay, so let me see here. We have a couple different donations in here for the throttle controller. So let me read these off, guys, because this is something, like I said, I want to make sure you guys all get in on. Darren Burnett donates $20, so he's going to get 2 entries. Again, guys, it's a throttle controller worth about $250. If you want to try to save some money on it, might not be a bad idea to throw something in here for a donation. Or if you don't want to mess with that, you just want to buy it directly, use the HPO5 code and save yourself 5%. Derek, looks like Derek donated $10, so he gets an entry. And let's see here. Okay, so yeah, that's it for now. So if you guys, again, if you want to get in on this, you can get a free entry if you are a member of the channel here, which is $4.99 if you haven't become a member already. But if you are one and you haven't been counted yet tonight, just type in number 1 in the chat and I'll make sure to get you guys added on, because this is going to be given away tonight, by the way, guys. So in about 30 minutes, we're going to be giving this away tonight. So we're not waiting on this one. This is weekly giveaways for solar performance stuff here. What's up, Jose?
Justin, can you talk about what you're giving away later on, like in a few weeks?
Yeah, so
can you talk about that?
For those of you out there who have
exciting.
Who have the Z06, I will be giving away the 91 millimeter throttle bodies next Monday night. So if you want to win the Z06 throttle bodies next Monday night, same thing's going to apply. Members will get 1 free entry, and then donations over $50 will be double entries. So yeah, if you want those, that's next Monday night. All right, looks like we just got another $10 donation. Let's see.
I haven't seen Jeremy. Jeremy respond to the throttle blade. He may not still be on here. I'll have to see.
I think he is, yeah. Bill, I got you on here for $10, so Bill gets a donation, or an entry, I mean.
Oh, Jose's on here. Hey, Jose.
Yep. What's going on, Jose?
How's that twin turbo treating you? For you guys that don't know, he's got a twin turbo C806. You've probably seen it on YouTube or other places on socials, but the thing is bad.
It is. It's the 16th, Bill. We've been saying that since the beginning of December. Darren, no, I don't think you can use Venmo. I don't think. I know it tries to pull. Yeah, it's got to be a credit card that it pulls from. Yeah. Wheeler, you can use the super chat donations as well. That's fine. I know Seawolf Z06 is from Canada as well, and he uses super chat and it works. You'll just have to kind of do some currency exchange because it's $10. Every $10 is a donation. So if you want, one donation, it's got to be 10 US dollars, whatever that translates to for you Canadians. Yeah. Tell Brandon that his Z06 sounds insane.
Thank you. That's I strive to make it sound good.
It does sound.
It's probably a little bit too much.
Nah, it's not too much.
Ask Nate how loud it is. It's unfortunate because you get to a point where there's diminishing returns on volume,
right.
And I think we're probably
there.
We're probably there. So.
Dude, you've got a straight piped car. You don't get it any louder than that.
No, not unless you make more power and move more air. That's the only way.
So let's see. All right, so we're getting some more donations in here tonight. We got okay, Jay's, and that's another thing, guys. If you want to donate towards what's happening next week with the Z06 throttle bodies, you can do that as well. Just put in the memo that it's for the Z06 throttle body giveaway, so I don't count you for this. I just got a donation for next week's giveaway, and oh wow, Gordon Cruz. Gordon Cruz is gonna most likely take this one, guys. He donated $100, so he's going to get 20 entries. Oof. Thanks, Gordon. Appreciate the support as always. Jay Brazelton donated $50, but that's towards next week's giveaway, so I will get that added on there as well. Yeah. Yeah, Jose, his car is really crazy.
I want to hear. I want to hear Jeremy's though. I feel like Jeremy's might give a run for the money. I just haven't heard his car. I haven't seen it in person. I've only seen it on social. But I'm still waiting to like. I want to check his car out. I want to hear it. I have a feeling that thing sounds pretty freaking mean.
Seawolf Z06, I don't know that answer for sure. He asks, us Canucks aren't able to do Venmo, correct? If you can, go ahead. I'm not sure if Venmo has some sort of limitation on that, but it doesn't really matter. If you want to use Super Chat, that's fine too. Yeah, 10 US dollars is worth 100 Canadian dollars. That sounds about right. Yep, Jay, I got you in for $100 on next week's giveaway. Seawolf said he's going to record Brand's exhaust and pretend it's his car.
Well, you know, honestly though, I think part of the reason why it sounds so good is responsiveness, and I'm able to get in the throttle.
I agree.
And it just revs so fast. It revs fast, or doesn't rev faster. It seems like it revs.
No,
faster. Or actually, I think it does rev.
It does rev faster, and that was one of the things when you and David changed the cats at the bash this year for me. I literally couldn't paddle shift my car without hitting the rev limiter because I had to relearn it all over again because it was revving faster than I was used to it. Every time I drove it for like the next day and a half, I was hitting the rev limiter whenever I was trying to shift at the last second. And I never did that before because it was literally revving freer.
It reminds me of, remember on older manual cars when you would go and like put a lightweight flywheel on it?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it
same
would just
exact
like rev
thing.
so much faster. That's exactly what it reminds me of.
I agree. All right, so NBA Live Awesomeness says, Justin, do you think GM will respond to the GTD's ring time that comes out tomorrow with the ZR1 ring time? 100% no. They most likely won't, and there's maybe 3 reasons for why they wouldn't. Number one, the Mustang GTD, I hope for Ford's sake that thing did get around that ring faster than 7 minutes, because if it didn't, they're going to look like a bunch of idiots. Because they had been touting the fact that it was definitely going to do faster than 7 minutes since that thing was announced. So odds are good. If I had to guess, it's going to be right around 6:50. So 6 minutes, 50 seconds flat with the GTD. It's going to be somewhere around there. I think with the Corvette ZR1, number one, they didn't get any super solid runs over there, just like they didn't with the Z06. So that was one of the reasons why we never got an official number for the Z06 at the Nürburgring. It was cold. There was wrecks on the track, blah, blah, blah. There was always a reason why they weren't able to get a clean run. The ZR1 was no different. Odds are very good they never got a clean run. If they did, the run was probably not what they had hoped for. So we're probably not ever going to hear that number. It's one of those things. It's either they didn't get a good run or the run they got wasn't as good as they thought it would be. It's got to be one of those two things because they were over there for a reason. And they came back and never gave us a number on the Z06 or the ZR1. And actually, I just found out recently that we never got an official number from the Stingray either, it seems. The number we got for the Stingray was not actually 100% official, apparently. And that one was about a 729.9, I think. So basically 730.
Did you see where Professor Corvette is saying that he's thinking it beats 640, or there's some, I don't know if he's got some knowledge somewhere or somebody's hinting that seems crazy to 640.
If it's 640, that's beating some serious cars. So
yeah, I don't think our cars can do 640. I mean, maybe the ZR1, but I don't think the Z06 is going to get anywhere near that.
I think the best case scenario, and I've said this from the very beginning, that the best case scenario for the Z06 was 650. And that was like best case. So if it's doing 640 or better, there's only a handful of cars that do better than 640.
Yeah,
and they're like millions and millions of dollars. We'll see. If it does 640, then I mean, that's impressive.
I would be very shocked, though.
I would too.
I mean, I'll be honest. Ford knows something we don't. That's for sure.
Oh, okay. Professor Corvette said that Ford loved a comment on someone's YouTube channel that said that it beat 640, and Ford loved that.
What?
So,
hopefully that was an accident.
Or they just like the fact that someone is thinking that the car's that fast. If it comes in, so here was the thing. My big thing with the GTD was always like, Ford was making it sound like it was like this revolutionary thing, when all they really did with the GTD was make a replica C7 ZR1. It was a big front engine, technically mid-engine because it's behind the front axle, big front engine, power with a transaxle gearbox, 50-50 weight distribution. There you go, a C7 ZR1. And they did this in 2019. Segmented times with Jim Merrow on the Nürburgring showed that the ZR1 could do a 6-minute 58-second lap time. Those were segmented times, again, not official, but a pretty good indication that the ZR1 is a sub 7-minute car. If that's the case, and this GTD comes out with the time that I just saw someone post in the chat here of 6:56, that's not that great. You beat the ZR1 by 2 seconds, and the ZR1 did it 5 years ago. You know what I mean? That's more like what I suspect is going to happen, because it's just, that's just my gut feeling. Now, if I could be absolutely wrong and it could come out and say do something better than 640, then at least then I'll be confident with the idea that that car is worth the price that they want for it. Because as of right now, I don't think it is.
Let me ask you this: if it does run a 640, and you had that and the C8 ZR1, obviously we don't know what it runs. You had both. You could pick one. They're just sitting there. You got A or B. Pick your choice. On a one that on that GTD, if it runs 640, you're gonna pick that over the ZR1?
I probably would.
C8 ZR1?
I probably would in this case, and I'll tell you why. The biggest reason is I've never been a Mustang guy, but I like the look of the GTD. It looks like a pretty freaking cool car. But not just that. If it goes faster than a 640, there's almost nothing on this planet that's going to touch that thing for years, maybe decades. I mean, the cars that I know now that do faster than 640 are millions upon millions of dollars and have ridiculous active aero and are almost unachievable kind of cars. Whereas the GTD, you could potentially get one. And if it's crushing 640, I can't even imagine how it would do that. I really can't. Have they talked about what the GTD's 0 to 60 time will be? I feel like they did, and it wasn't that impressive. Or I might be thinking about something else.
Was it sub 3? I don't remember, to be honest with you.
I remembered it. I thought it was over 3, but I don't know.
Well, what was the C701? What was the 0 to 60 on your car in the auto?
2.8.
2.8. Okay, so with the same weight distribution and similar weight, they should be able to get something near that, I would think. At least a 3, or maybe like a hair below sub 3, I would think. Surely, depending on their tire size, but.
Yeah, I'll be blown away if it hits 650. I can't see it cruising to 640 or low. I really can't either. I mean, that is a really ridiculous number. So, yeah. Let me see if we got any more donations here. It looks like we... No. All right. So, guys, the giveaway's still going here. So if you want to try to get in on this, Gordon is leading the pack right now with a $100 donation. Looks like I'm going to try to maybe bring somebody else in on this. I have another person here who has a little bit to say about Solar Performance throttle bodies. Let me see if I can do this real quick.
Welcome. I saw your video, by the way. I know you probably kept talking here yet, but saw your solar video. It was great.
Getting there. I'm getting there. Maybe now. Can you talk? No? I'm not getting any audio from you. Can you hear him, Brandon?
No, I can't. I wonder if it's the little microphone thing on the when you sign in or whatever. You know, like let's just select the iPhone microphone.
Can't hear you.
Maybe.
Try leaving and coming back, and make sure you select the right microphone on your phone. We'll see if we can get him back. But guys, that's New Horizon C8. He hasn't done a full test on the 91mm throttle bodies yet, but it's coming. Yeah, and that's another thing. Wheeler O'Hara puts out that the GTD is 3,800 pounds. This is not a super lightweight car. So I mean, if the Z06 can't do it, I really don't. I just don't see the GTD definitely focused more on aero and stuff. But I mean, still, it's just like,
how is it that heavy?
I know that is pretty heavy. I thought that they used a bunch of carbon fiber. That's what I thought last time I heard about it.
Well, it's all aluminum engine. You know, the Mustangs are typically lighter than pretty much everything else. That's been their go-to. That just seems like a really big porker. for a dedicated race car, right? Like that's
Yeah.
getting the Hellcat weights and stuff, you know.
Larry, I did get your donation. So Larry donated $10 to the giveaway here. Let me know when he comes back in here.
He's back. I don't know if we can hear him yet, but he's back. I can't hear him, but maybe you can.
No.
No.
Is he using a DJI mic?
I don't see. Well, yeah, I see one on him. I do.
Try taking
that.
Try taking that off and just use your regular iPhone mic. And when you do, leave and come back again.
Yeah, I had the same problem with the DJI. I tried that before, and it for some reason it acted weird.
E. Herbert, what's your name? I got some Venmos from a couple of names I don't recognize. I just wrote down the name in there. Looks like maybe Derek. E. Herbert, is that your name? Just let me know what your name is, E. Herbert, so I can tell you for sure if I got it.
Where are they announcing the times for this the GTD? Do you know, Justin? Do you know where they're announcing it?
I don't know when, but it's what time, but it's tomorrow.
Okay, I guess if Ford's like doing some commercial or something.
It's going to be probably something on YouTube if I had to guess.
Okay.
Let me know if you're able to hear him when he comes back in, Brandon. But what was I going to do? Oh, yeah. I want to talk. Go ahead.
Steven's saying the weight's 3268 is what he's saying. That would make a little more sense. I don't know what the weight is. That's the same what he's
Mustang
saying.
Mustang GTD.
It worked.
You can hear him now?
I can hear them. Yeah, it may not be able to hear them because they're not on the thing yet.
Yeah, I haven't put them on there yet. Let me get them on.
If it's 3,200 pounds, that makes it possible on the time.
I agree.
Because then you're beating the Z by like 300 or 400 pounds, depending on your how it's equipped.
Yep. All right, Carlos.
And
I think we got you on here now.
You're beating that. There we go.
You there, Carlos? Can you hear us?
Carlos, can you hear us? Oh. I don't know if he's got the sound still. I think he got audio but no sound.
I was saying now I can hear him, but he can't hear us. That's kind of funny. Anyway, let's keep moving on here, guys. I don't know what's going on there with Carlos, but yeah. I'm just trying to verify the curb weight of that Mustang. Mustang GTD. Yeah, I'm reading 3,800 pounds.
Really? Oh, wow. Yeah, there's no way that 3,800 pounds is getting around that track that fast. I'm just not buying a 6.
Oh, there we go.
3,800 pounds.
I wonder if you can hear me now.
Yeah, can you hear?
I can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now I hear you guys.
Gotcha.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Back.
I was trying to be all fancy and try to use my computer at the same time, and yeah, no, that didn't work out that well.
All right. So, if you happen to know the answer to this, Carlos, do you know what the curb weight is on the Mustang GTD?
The curb weight? No, I don't.
All right. So I'm reading it's I've read a couple places now that it's 3,800 pounds, which does seem heavy for a car that supposedly is going to beat 7 minutes around the ring.
Yeah, that's pretty heavy.
That is very heavy. So, yeah, Carlos, we were talking about the 91 millimeter ported throttle bodies. I know you haven't done your video yet on it, but why don't you give us your thoughts on it? Because I already talked about my thoughts, and Brandon talked about his on the 87s. What are your thoughts on the 91s?
Yeah, definitely. So actually, I did like a sneak preview video actually of the 91 millimeters, but not like the full video. I was just kind of tested the 87 millimeters and personally tested the 91s, and then I had some issues with my camera. But long story short, I did try out the 91 millimeters. And I will say, I personally believe that there is quite a bit of difference. There's a huge difference between the OEMs to the 91 millimeters, but I do believe that there's a bit of a difference between even the 87 to the 91 millimeters. And for me, and how I said in my videos and how I plan to say in this upcoming video, it really adds that useful functional horsepower in the low to mid power band range. And that is where I just noticed it really made my Z06 like come alive. It was really lazy before, in my opinion. And mind you, my Z06, it does not have any other power mods. It doesn't have a cold air intake, no exhaust yet, but it just has that throttle body. And I can tell you guys, it has been a huge, huge difference in my opinion. And that is without this little piece right here, the throttle controller, which I plan to put in also, which I think is going to be even better kind of deal. So for anybody that's kind of interested in the 91 millimeter, I think it's definitely worth it for the price point.
Yep. And again, guys, you can save 5% by using HPO5. I just put it in the comment or the chat section here if you don't win them next week. So again, next week is going to be a nice giveaway for that. But here's what I found so far, guys. I'm looking on the website. It doesn't look good. I'm not sure, Steven, I'm not sure where you saw the 3,200 pounds, because everything I'm seeing, I highlighted the article here. It says curb weight is harder to establish due to the extensive use of carbon fiber mechanically and in exterior bodywork. But considering that most performance-focused versions of the Mustang already tip the scales at around 4,000 pounds, it's likely the GTD won't be any heavier. So, yeah, even in the comment section here, I'm seeing people saying that the GT500 is 4,183, almost 4,200 pounds. There's no way the GTD is going to come in under 338. So again, 3,800 pound car, that's roughly 200 to 300 pounds heavier than the Z06, with about 130 more horsepower. How can that be sub 7 if the Z06 isn't? Now it could be a gearing thing, so absolutely maybe that I'm oversimplifying this, but I don't know. I don't see it. But I already know there's no way Ford's going to give us that number if it's over 7, because they've been touting that it's going to be sub 7 from the second they talked about this car. So if it comes out and it's over 7, they are going to look like such idiots. It's not even going to be funny.
Yeah, pretty much.
A little suspect too, right? Like we had our 710 pop up, and then a few weeks later now, or a month or whatever it's been, now they're coming with their number. And so it's going to be at least 10 seconds probably better, I would guess. Right?
And based on that weight, based on the fact it's coming on the tail of Z06, I bet you this number comes out at 659 and some change. It is literally under 7, but barely.
They're going to squeeze every little bit that they can for that.
Yep. Yeah, the difference literally could be an anti-gravity battery.
Or if the driver had a burrito right before he got on the track.
I mean, they showed the driver. They showed that little teaser video. They showed the drivers, and they showed. I mean, everybody seemed pretty serious about this thing. So, I think, I can tell by looking at the car, they wanted to build something special here, and I think they did. Regardless, if it's under 7 minutes, even if it's 6:59:59, you're under 7 minutes in a Mustang, especially at 3,800 pounds. You did something right, because that's a heavy car to be throwing around that track under 7 minutes.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And that's good for all of us, though. If it is better, that's great, because now, I feel like Corvette's kind of taking the lead.
Competition breeds innovation.
And so, right.
That is exactly right.
Up too, and the C9 is going to come out.
99 Zulu says the GTD is not 3268. The website, when you read it, is for the GT3 RS, not the GTD. Most likely weight is 3,800 pounds. Only body panels are carbon fiber, and switched some steel to aluminum for the structure. I would highly doubt it's under 3,800 pounds myself. Maybe somebody did accidentally read the GT3 RS number, but if it actually was 3,200 pounds, I mean, that's a really lightweight Mustang, because a Mustang's a big car to begin with. So it's very unlikely it's 3,200 pounds, unless they totally swapped out the tub to carbon fiber and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, let me ask you this, Carlos. Do you have a throttle controller in your car yet?
I don't. I have this fancy box that it's been teasing me for the last couple of weeks that I've had it, and I've been dying to put it in. So
okay, you're in the same position I am. Then mine's sitting down in the garage too. It's going in tomorrow. So I'll have.
You're like, I got to go into work, so mine's not getting installed until this weekend. And I have to figure out even a timeline for that because I got to be a good husband and spend some time with the wife.
Yeah, yeah. That is important. Supercharged E-Ray says that adds up. So I think we're all on the same page now. I think it is around 3,800 pounds. I literally can't find anything that says even 3,800 officially. I think a lot of people are speculating that number. So there's a chance it's even higher than 38. So 800 horsepower, which is, of course, nothing to scoff at, but at the same time, you need a lot of horsepower to combat additional weight. So 815 horsepower, 664 pound-feet of torque, which is, of course, pretty good. Top speed is 202, so roughly 8 miles an hour faster, 7 miles an hour faster than the Z06 as far as top speed's concerned. It says fuel economy is TBC. That means
fuel economy. Are you really concerned about fuel economy?
Right. Yeah. That means it's not going to be good.
I mean, come on, guys. Come on.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is every time I make a review video with talking about my TRX or the Z06, I feel like I have to mention the elephant in the room is, of course, the fuel economy with these cars. But at the same time, who the heck's buying this car for fuel economy? No one's buying this because, it gets good gas mileage. No, it doesn't. You know it doesn't before you even buy it.
Well, Justin, you know this coming from a TRX, everything gets good gas mileage.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just own a TRX, and then
it's all relative. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, dude. My Z06 is like a freaking Prius compared to my TRX.
Yeah.
All right. So
I remember I saw on some of the Corvette forums, some people just kind of trying to see how much miles per gallon they could get from, I think it was just the Stingray, not even the Z06s. And I think the highest I ever saw was like 28, 29 miles per gallon.
No, I got higher than that with my Stingray. At one point,
really?
I was averaging like 32, but it was all.
I've seen over 30 on not personally, but some friends of mine. Not like over 10,000 miles, but over like a few hundred miles, they were able to get it.
Yeah, I took a trip. I took a trip out west with my Stingray, and I averaged at one point I was averaging 32 miles per gallon, and it was funny because every time we would stop and fill up on long highway trips, at one point I saw almost 600 miles of fuel economy left in a full tank of gas, and I was like, man, that's the highest I've ever seen. I never saw it again either, but.
I don't have enough patience to even see how high miles per gallon I can get.
If you go on a road trip out west, it is literally just hundreds upon hundreds of miles of just straight highway driving. You don't have to have the patience for it. It's going to naturally happen.
Well, I'll tell you what's cool is if you do the Corvette caravans where you have like 10 Corvettes in a row and you're like drafting other Corvettes, if you're like number 3 or number 4, you'll get about 3 or 4 miles per gallon over what you normally would in the same stretch just from drafting.
Yeah.
Because we all draft pretty
fair.
Close. Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Wheeler O'Hara says, honestly, a GTD against a Z06 is not the same weight class. Should be Halo to Halo, so GTD to ZR1. Otherwise, it's like another Jake Paul fight. Yeah. I don't disagree. And I think based on what we just talked about tonight, I haven't really spent a lot of time with the GTD. I haven't looked that much into it. Just what I started looking into tonight, the weight, the horsepower, what they've done with the transactional and stuff. They're very close to that thing being a C7 ZR1. And the C7 ZR1 ran a segmented time of 6:58 on the track. So I bet you they come in at 6:58 or 6:59. It will be right under 7 minutes. If they somehow crush or crack off a 6:40, I don't know. I don't know what I'll say because I don't see it happening. But it of course
I don't see that happening. That's a bit far fetched, but I could definitely see a little bit more than that.
Professor Corvette says, or a GTD versus 2 Z06s if you go by the cost.
Yeah.
Robert says that he got 27 miles per gallon on his 19 ZR1. I think it was 25, or actually it might have been 26 on the way home from when I first picked it up. I drove it from Virginia back to Pennsylvania. I got a really nice miles per gallon rating on it too. And that was really impressive because the ZR1 does not have any kind of cylinder deactivation. So that is straight giant V8 supercharged. And I was still able to get 26 miles per gallon.
That is wild. That just shows
It
the
is.
aero and the gearing and like
Yeah.
the efficiency. Those things are phenomenal. That's like
Oh
that's
yeah.
getting towards like Prius. Priuses only do what in the 30s, or the some of the older ones.
Now the older ones I thought got to like 42.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so I'm going to start adding some names up here, guys. I think if you want to get in on this giveaway, pretty much now is your time, because I'm going to add the names into the wheel here. As soon as the names go in this wheel, as soon as I'm done adding the names, we're going to press the button. So you have the next couple minutes to get your name in here. Before we do that, though, I do want to go over some news, because there is a little bit of news here. So, news mode. There's a new service bulletin that addresses the front view camera malfunctions on some 2024 Corvettes. Brandon, David, this is for you. I don't think yours is a 24, is it, Carlos?
No, mine's a 23.
Okay. So 24s might have issues with the front camera modules in cold weather. Basically, this is your service bulletin right here, and it will correct the problem by installing a new camera. It's basically a new camera that's not sensitive to cold temperatures. Now, GM says that this process is said to take just 24 minutes, and it's free for cars that are still under original factory warranty. 24 minutes.
Wait, replacing the camera?
Yeah. It's it says camera module. So
either way, I call bull on that. I don't see any possible way they could do that.
My big thing is 24 minutes. Are you sure it's not 25 minutes? Or
Oh,
maybe
yeah,
maybe
yeah,
23? Like, why is it 20? It's very specific. So
yeah, that is.
So something to be aware of if you guys have a 24 C8 Corvette. Another thing is, again, coming to the channel this week, Scrape Armor has officially released their side intake grill guards for the wide body cars. So the Stingray, or the Z06 and E-Ray. These are officially available on their website. I was told by Scott, basically the guy who runs everything over there, they're not making a whole lot of these for the initial group of sales. So if you want to get one of these quick, get over to their website and order one. Scrape Armor, the ordering process is there now. The way that these things are going to fit is really incredible. You can see from the picture here, there is less than a 2 millimeter gap around the entire thing. So this is going to stop everything from getting into your intake. If you guys haven't seen the Venturi intake cleaning video I just made, I dumped out probably 50 to 60 leaves out of my intake, because everything that passes through there comes right into your intake. And a lot of them are fairly large leaves that could potentially be blocking a decent amount of air surface. So this is something that's definitely necessary, in my opinion.
Yeah, because the cigarette buzz, I'm sick of getting cigarette buzz out of that area. That's little rocks.
That's my thing.
Yeah.
The cigarette butts is
rock that gets wedged into that little area.
And they're hard to get out, and they're going to cause problems later. Little rocks been in there.
Well, let's play, worst case scenario. Someone flicks their cigarette butt out the window and it's still ignited whenever it passes through into your intake. That could absolutely be a giant problem. So let's just eliminate it totally and stop large objects from getting into that area. Now,
can you imagine? I mean, in theory, because fire loves oxygen, you're shoving into the
air with exactly.
Yeah,
you're literally.
It still just amazes me that GM doesn't do that as just an OEM standard feature.
Yeah. So the big thing is GM was kind of against the idea of grill guards until Scrape Armor was able to show them that, number one, it wasn't going to hinder cooling, it wasn't going to hinder aerodynamics, and it wasn't going to cause a problem with their radiators. So until Scrape Armor was able to prove that, GM went on record saying, these aren't necessary. You don't need these. Then after Scrape Armor was able to prove it to GM that, number one, you do need them, but number two, it's not going to cause any issues with your warranty. Now all of a sudden GM's open to the idea that you do need these. But the big thing for me with Scrape Armor is always the quality of what their product, like the install of their product. Not even necessarily just the product, because their product's good. But the stuff that they give you, the tools that they give you to install these things appropriately is it's mind-blowing. I mean, I talked to Scott a good bit on the phone about it the other night, and there's templates that are set up that will match up with the door latch to make sure that you literally cannot place a bracket in an incorrect position. You can't install these incorrectly. And I love that feature. If you guys have installed the scrape armor grill guards on the front of your Z06, you'll know what I'm talking about. The way that these brackets fit into place, they're so perfectly fitting that you can't do it incorrectly because they'll literally only fit one way. And I love that approach to this. So anyway, Scott told me I'm going to have the very first set, so you won't see another set of these on YouTube at all until you see mine. So if you guys are watching the channel, if you're interested in these things and you want to make sure you're on the cutting, bleeding edge of them, I'll be the first one to install these things.
Carlos, does that make you mad?
A little bit.
A little bit.
But in all fairness, I still don't have the radiator grills on the front of my Z06, and that I know is a big no-no.
Yeah, you should definitely.
So I know I need to do that. I've been delaying on doing that, and yeah, that has to be done kind of immediately because my front radiators are already begging me to, please save them because they already have a whole bunch of dents.
Yep, I had 800 miles on my car, I think, before I put those on, and in 800 miles, I already had a couple dents and a couple bugs just like jammed in there. But moving on, I wanted to talk a little bit about Eddie X had taken some pictures of a C8 ZR1 running around town in the snow. So Brandon said that he was impressed that I was driving my Z06 in the snow. How impressive is it that this guy's driving the ZR1 in the snow? Because, that's a ZTK, so those are Sport Cup 2Rs as well.
Oh, that's terrifying.
That is terrifying.
That sounds scary.
I mean, this car, you can see this car is still, even the engine bay area is covered in snow, which means this car was cold.
Yeah, I don't want to be the passenger. I'll just be honest, or the driver.
Right.
Yeah, that is absolutely terrifying. But they need that data point. This is all for the engineers.
Yep. And thankfully they are doing it right. I mean, you obviously don't want a car like this that hasn't been tested in cold conditions because then you're talking about totally different air fuel ratios, all this other stuff. Of course, Chevy knows what they're doing. They're not going to ever test these cars in only a warm climate and say, forget about the cold guys. Like, these cars are purchased all over the world. So you got to be able to keep an eye on that kind of stuff too. But
think how much power it makes in 30-degree air.
It's probably 1,200.
Oh,
it's more of think of how much power is not going to get translated to the road because it's so freaking cold.
And get more power. Yeah.
So over at the Mid-Engine Corvette forum, we get some high-res LA Auto Show pictures of the new LT7 engine, and it's very interesting looking. I thought from the second that they revealed the ZR1 to us, that the LT7 engine just looks like a piece of jewelry. Like, I mean, first off, look how freaking massive that thing is. It almost looks like it wouldn't fit in the back of a C8. It's huge.
What do you think those are going to run for crate motors? What are you guessing? You guys thinking like 40K, like for crate motors? Because they're going to throw them out there.
Initially, they're going to be at least probably 60. And then they'll drop to 60? Probably 40, 30.
Yeah, that's what I would think as well.
It's an advanced engine. I mean, you're definitely not talking about your typical LS3 here. Like this is much more work into this thing.
The LS9 is still like 21 grand for a crate. Like, it's still, even today, is a $21,000 crate motor, which is crazy.
Yeah. Well, if that's
the case, a great motor. I'm just saying, like, price wise, of perspective.
If that's the case, this may stay at 50 or more.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Second
Z06 says 52.
Yep. Yeah. It'll probably start around 60 or 70, drop to 50 eventually. Well, next thing, guys, is the C8 Corvette once again makes the Car and Driver's top 10 best cars for 2025. So this is pretty cool. This is interesting to be a part of something like this. You have a car, whether you have a C8, Stingray, Z06, E-Ray, you have a pretty freaking cool car. I mean, it doesn't matter which performance variant you have a car that is better than most people's fast car. I mean, the C8 has absolutely killed it in the awards sections, in the performance sections. It doesn't seem like it matters where you go. You're hearing somebody talking about how awesome a C8 is. Except for, of course, some of them Mustang guys. Some of those Mustang guys don't like them C8s, but you know how that goes. That's a friendly competition, we'll call it.
Yeah, exactly.
Is it friendly, though?
I'll call it friendly because that opens up a whole nother can of worms if we don't. But
it's never been friendly for me. I'll just be honest in my experience.
Usually
it's always not friendly.
See, the thing is with that kind of conversation, I'm friendly about it, but they're typically not, because it's like, I don't really care to fight over something stupid like that. Like if you have a Mustang that's super fast because you put a bunch of money into it, it doesn't matter to me if you have a faster car than I do. I have the car that I want. That's what matters to me.
But what's even worse is the Hellcats. That is even more like less friendly. You know, like that's to me, in my experience, has been the most competitive. But
oh yeah,
I would agree.
Hellcats every single time for me, just coming right up next to me, trying to get me to go. I'm like, dude, I'm just trying to get home.
Right. Okay, so I'm gonna add the names into the list here, guys. We're gonna be drawing this thing in a second. NBA Live, I did see the Savage Geese video. Very interesting.
That was really
stuff.
Good.
It
was well done.
They film stuff like it's a movie, and that is far above my my abilities. But I like it.
Yeah, for me,
I missed that video. I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, you should check it out. It's very well done. It answers a lot of questions. One of the big things that I came away with was the fact that they were going to have 3 different suspension setups for the ZR1. So kind of, you know, more of a plush suspension setting all the way up to like about the same, maybe a little bit stiffer than Z07.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I prefer that. I prefer did I just lose a filling kind of suspension, you know? You go over a bump, you're like, well, my wheel's either cracked or the tire's flat. I'm not sure what just happened, but
yeah, basically.
I like that approach though. I really do. I don't know why. I've always enjoyed cars that ride that way. So, I'm working on getting these added in here now, guys. Just bear with me a second. If you are looking to get in on this giveaway, we're about to draw the winner, so don't wait much longer.
Carlos, you're an engineer by trade, right? Is that
yes? So I'm an aerospace engineer by trade.
Oh, nice,
Jeez.
Nice.
Yeah. So I work on fighter jets for a living.
So you said you're not smart. Is what you're saying? You're not smart,
right? Yeah.
No, I just worked a ton. I don't know how to stop. That's more of what it is.
Oh, gotcha. That's a pretty cool field to be in, especially in like this kind of realm.
Yeah, definitely. So it's actually kind of funny. So while Justin's doing what he's doing, so when I was looking at the 91 millimeters, so some of the stuff that they did, I wish I had one here that I could show you instead. That's in the car now. But long story short, there's a section on the back end of the like on the rod. So if I was looking at this 87 millimeter, this rod here on the back side, I don't know if you guys noticed, but they have little dimples on the back of on the 91. Yeah. And the principle to that,
I was going to talk about that. But
so the principle essentially to that is the same as like a golf ball.
Oh, did we lose him? Oh, I think you're dropping out there.
And having the knowledge about like all the aero going on.
We missed a little bit of what you said.
That could have been cheap to do that, right? To machine that, I wouldn't think it'd be that cheap to do. So for them to put that on there, they had to really take some like good thought to do it. I would think. Like I'm not in that realm. But it sounds like that's not cheap. To machine those, and I guess you would call them recesses, but
the little dimpling.
Carlos, can you say for sure? Because I have them down in the garage. I haven't checked it, but does the 87s not have that?
The 87s do not have that. So they just have the standard rod that goes across, and it's ported and such. But yeah, it doesn't have those dimples on there. But the 91s do, and in fact, with the 91s, you have the dimples. I'm trying to like hold my phone while I'm doing this, but you have no rod in the front here on the 91s, and then you have the dimpling on the back. So they very much improve the airflow between those two different aspects, just in that, not even just the porting, just in that, which is a huge deal.
So Professor Corvette,
that's where the wide open throttle numbers are going to really kind of show. Is going to be right, as far as when the blade's fully open, that's when you're going to see the biggest difference with the throttle shaft.
Yeah,
that's when
wide open throttle. Yep. Professor Corvette says, "How about the new Jaguars?" And then he says, "I give them one Brandon."
Oh God! Do not put my face
Yeah,
with
right.
the new Jaguar, please.
Oh God,
Please
that
do
is
not
too
do
much.
that to me. I want no association at all.
Chopper Larry says, whenever you dropped out for a second, Carlos, he says, "I guess fighter jets don't have Wi-Fi."
No.
We got a lot of funny guys here on the
Oh,
chat.
he's got jokes. They
He's
got jokes.
I give them one Brandon. See, Brandon, this was the problem with using your picture as an emoji. This is the things that happen.
It's funny though. I will say this is pretty funny.
All right.
At least we can all take a joke.
Yeah. I mean, it's not my face up there, so I can easily take a joke.
Your face is on there though. You have one.
No, I don't. Oh yeah, I do.
Oh,
Mine's thinking. Yeah, I do. You're right.
Yeah, you got one.
All right. So guys,
right now.
I didn't get any more entries. Nope, no more entries. So we're gonna go ahead and run this thing. There it is, Brand's Garage, throwing it up there. The thinking face.
Three out of 5.
3 out of 5. Well, that's better than one Brandon.
Yeah, true.
All right,
yeah.
So let's do. We're gonna go ahead and run the wheel, guys. So here we go. Are you guys excited for this? Could you potentially win? Let's see what happens. Here we go. This is for a throttle controller for whatever car you have.
And the same rules apply, Justin, where you have to be in the chat if you're like a member and you got a free entry.
Yeah, if you got a free entry, you have to be here to win.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
And
That looks like it's going to be Steve. I hate how slow that thing goes at the end. All right, so Steve Rishaw, are you still in here? He actually donated, so he doesn't have to be here to win. But Steve, if you're not in here, I will send you a message. You have won for the throttle controller. So thank you, Steve. Thank you, guys. Everybody who donated, thank you. I have Jay. I got you on for next week's giveaway. So if you guys want to donate before next week approaches, just send me a Venmo and let me know it's for the Z06 throttle bodies, and I'll get you added in there.
Justin, can I donate for those
the
91s?
You won't.
That's one I do think I want to get on.
You
Is that okay?
You won't be on the chat or on the video next Monday night. You can be in the chat, but you won't be on the video, so it will allow you to get in there without any kind of weirdness.
All right. I think I'm going to donate for those.
Okay. So thank you, everybody. Carlos, thanks for tuning in. Brandon, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks to everybody for the donations. Thanks for tuning in as usual. We ran a little long today because of the giveaway, but thanks for sticking in there. We appreciate it. We'll see you guys same time, same place next Monday night. Bring your donations, though, because it is the Z06 91mm throttle bodies being given away next week from Solar Performance. You're going to want to get in on that one, guys. So we'll see you then.
all right. Take care, everybody.
See ya.